Hi there. I'm Andy Winnick. I'm the president of the American Institute for Progressive Democracy, a action-oriented think tank located here in Claremont, California. As one of our projects, we're preparing a series of training films for politicians and their staffs about major issues that are likely to come up in the political process during campaigns or in a legislative session. Today, we'll start with the first one and focus on the issue of climate change.
Hello, my name is Carol Whitson, and I have with me Merrill Ring, Emeritus Professor from Cal State Fullerton. We're both members of the board of the American Institute for Progressive Democracy, and Merrill is here today to give us some great information about global warming and climate change. Well, Merrill, what is the difference between global warming and climate change?
Well, thanks, Carol, for the question. It's a very, very good way to start. And there is a big difference. Global warming is the increase of temperature of the surface of the Earth all over. That is an average temperature. It is not just one place. Climate change is a change in the patterns of climate. Storms, hurricanes, rain falling here, seasons changing, anything that falls under the general heading of climate. There is a third thing that needs to be mentioned, and that is that global warming causes the climate change that we're talking about. That it is not, well, we can talk about who invented that later, but right now it's a causal claim. This causes that. And then, too, I've noticed a lot of people forgetting that climate change isn't going to be something in the future. It's now. It's happening now. It's going to continue to happen unless we do something radical to change it. The warming is going to increase. Patterns of climate are going to keep changing.
So, Merrill, why should we believe that global warming caused climate change is occurring?
There is a very easy, straightforward answer. Those people whose job it is to research and study these things tell us that that's exactly what's going to happen. Scientists, we call them, various different kinds of scientists involved in climate change, agree worldwide that this is what's happening, that the Earth is getting warmer and that patterns of climate are changing and that the one is causing the other one. Now look, these are the people that we hire and given their life's work to do this for us. We train them, we educate them, we give them positions, we fund their research, all so that we can know these facts about what the world is like so that we can adopt policies that meet them. And those people who go around denying this simply don't understand that these people are out there not trying to change our minds for some strange political reason or because Al Gore said so. This is the results of their research. There is absolutely no significant disagreement among those who do know that these things are exactly what's happening in the world. That's what we believe.
And what is causing the Earth's surface to heat up?
We already settled that global warming is causing climate change. Your question is what's causing the global warming? And the agreement among our research scientists is it's not just one of those natural occurrences that the Earth's universe cycles through every now and then. In fact, it is something that we human beings do. It is a kind of human activity that we engage in that is producing the global warming.
Well, so what human activity is it that's causing the Earth's temperature to rise?
We burn fossil fuels, materials containing carbon. We burn them in order to produce the energy that we need to run various things in our lives. Fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas. The burning of them releases carbon dioxide, chemical formula CO2. The CO2, not only do you get heat and energy, you get the CO2 as a byproduct, it floats up in the atmosphere and it stays up there. What it does up there is act like a blanket that keeps the heat below it. Now, my best analogy is think of it as an oven. We build ovens in order to make them get hot internally, right? Good things. In order to keep the heat there, you've got to have insulation. The CO2 functions as a kind of insulation that keeps the heat down here around the surface of the earth. Now, some of these fuels are worse. Coal's the worst. Oil is next to natural gas. But don't get misled by thinking that natural gas is a solution to the problem, because it too releases CO2, not as much as the others, but it's also dangerous in itself. It's methane, some different chemical formula, and methane is even a better insulator than CO2 is. And so what you get when you mine natural gas, when you store it, when you transport, some of the methane gets loose. It goes up there. It even works better. There was that gigantic methane leak, the natural gas leak in North Los Angeles, released vast quantities of methane in the atmosphere. It's really, really, from a climate point of view, a very bad thing. So don't think that natural gas solves our problems. But that's what happens. CO2 gets up there, and methane gets up there. Wonderful insulation. Keeps us warm.
Well, what are the consequences of our present global warming?
Look, there's all kinds of consequences. One of the problems is just trying to think of some of them and say some of them. The first thing to know is there are no good ones. There's many consequences. There's not any good ones. So let me just mention some of them. Global warming is the Earth's surface is getting warmer. Lots of the Earth is the ocean. The ocean is getting warmer. One of the things that happens is when the ocean gets warmer, animals, things move around. We noticed this last summer, the deaths of all sorts of baby sea lions and seals in California. Why did they die? Their mothers couldn't produce enough milk. Why couldn't they produce enough milk? They weren't getting any food. Why not enough food? Ocean was warmer. The stuff they eat was all moving further north to where it was cooler. So there's all these consequences about the temperature, just straight out like that. We'll talk about the consequences for people later. But there are others. Ice melts when they get warm. And that's what's happening all over the world. That Glacier National Park, the glaciers are disappearing. If you want to visit there, you better get there pretty quick. North Pole, ice is melting. Polar bears can't make the swim. Ships can sail through there. Clear water now. Different things are happening in the temperatures of the water. Besides that, the main problems about the ice occur in Greenland and in Antarctic, where vast quantities of water are stored as ice. And with global warming, these things are melting in various ways. And the more they melt, or glaciers drop off, raise it, melt in the ocean, the higher the seas get. So very many human beings live along the coasts of all the countries in the world. Parts of it are just disappearing. I mean, some of the islands of the Pacific are going under. Bangladesh is losing it. Soon there won't be any land out there we can call Bangladesh. All these things are happening. Or think of Miami Beach. Miami. They're going underwater pretty soon, right? There's more rainy days, more days in which the streets of Miami are covered with water than there were just a few years ago. So there's going to be vast changes in the level of the sea, which means the people and the infrastructure and all the business we have there are going to have to relocate. Not just here, but around the world. There's other kinds of consequences too. I mean, if you want to talk about patterns of climate change, there's more storms, they're more frequent and they're more intense. More hurricanes are going to hit, more typhoons, more wildfires are going to be burning out there. All these things, they're not happy things. They're not good things for us. Our world is not built to accommodate more and intense ones. Plants and animals are dying. They can't shift. Sometimes some of the populations move to cooler climates. Not all of them can move. Human beings. World Health Organization has warned that there's going to be major health problems all over the world from global warming. Just take heat. I mean, the best estimate was somewhere between 600 and 1,300 people a year in the United States die prematurely because of heat. With global warming on the track that it's going, the estimate somewhere is up in the vicinity of 20,000 a year will die from heat-related causes. Maybe even White House estimates 10,000 in one given summer. So diseases, health, drought, all these things, human population is going to be severely affected. And lastly, you think these people in the really difficult situations are just going to sit there and take it and die? No, they're going to get out and they're going to have to go someplace else. And there's people there. There's going to be wars. The Defense Department is one of the major supporters of the idea that we have to act quickly and strongly about global warming and climate change because they know the outcome is going to be war. And so they're deeply in support of our doing whatever we can to end this.
Well, what needs to be done to prevent these serious consequences from happening?
Consequences are the outcome of global warming. Global warming is the outcome of our burning fossil fuels, material that releases the CO2. So the answer to halting and even slowing global warming is stopping burning fossil fuels.
But Meryl, how can that be done? We need energy to live our modern lives, don't we?
Well, there's two sides to the problem. First of all, what we've got to stop doing is burning the fossil fuels. And the way you do that is you keep them in the ground. That's a slogan going on. Keep them in the ground. Well, how do we do that? Well, the biggest thing is making it more expensive in order to produce and then utilize the fossil fuels. The basic way is through a carbon tax. You tax pumping of oil, digging of coal, acquiring natural gas. You tax them. In other words, it makes it more expensive to produce. The tax is based on the consumer. Pretty soon people are going to start looking for alternative ways that are less expensive. Not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's more expensive. And so as a result, we've got to engage in some form of taxation, of making it more expensive to get the fuels into our energy consumption system.
But then how do we produce energy?
Well, as I said, the opposite side, it's not just temporal, right? You've got to stop the burning and you have to substitute something else. And that's where we use the renewables. Now look, the investment in them, the investment in coal in this country has just about gone down to nothing. It's already happening in this country. Other countries are doing better than we are. Had we listened to the people that know long ago, we'd be much further along in substituting these kinds of renewals for carbon-based fuels. We're not. But it can be done. The use of solar panels, the use of wind, all of that's increasing enormously in this country. It's just you may not happen to see it. And there's a long way to go, of course. But that's what's got to happen. These new forms of energy have to be employed.
Are there projects that the people and nations of the world must undertake to halt the global warming?
Look, the big one is stopping the fossil fuel stuff. But that's not the only thing that needs to be done. It has to be done. There is, for instance, conservation. We need to use less energy, straight out. We need to not just simply change to electric vehicles, for instance, in more walking, more public transportation. All around the world, those are the things that need to be done. So there's a whole bunch of conservation things. And don't ever make the mistake of thinking they can just go away. Okay. There's also such things as reforestation. What happens to the carbon dioxide that it produces? Well, as I said, unfortunately, lots of it goes up. Trees soak up lots of carbon dioxide. So we need to plant more trees, and good kinds of trees, deciduous trees especially. Otherwise, we get all this extra carbon dioxide. Incidentally, I was going to say this. The oceans are in trouble because of the excess of carbon dioxide, causing greater acidification of the oceans, which is killing the coral reefs and all of that. Oxygen is less in the oceans. Fish are dying from lack of oxygen. Okay, they soak up oxygen too, but there's going to be lots more water out there, and maybe they can sort of balance that out. But by and large, you need trees, you need conservation, and you need to stop doing it in the first place.
Well, how long can we expect the warming of the Earth to continue, even if we use renewables?
Well, look, it's not going to happen soon, no matter what happens. I mean, obviously, these changes can't be made overnight. We're not going to stop the burning of fossil fuels overnight. We're not going to substitute renewable energy for the. It's going to continue for some time. And the question is how bad it's going to get before we succeed in doing these things. My physicist friends tell me that carbon dioxide takes a long time to get out of the atmosphere. So it's not going to get back to where it was in, say, 1900 when industrialization really seriously began. We're not going to be back there. The Earth's going to be warmer. There's going to be climate change patterns continue and get worse. And there's going to be all the bad consequences that I talked about. So it's not going to be soon. We just have to face it. The world is not what it was, and it's not going to be that way.
But won't all these solutions disrupt our lives?
Oh yes, there's going to be vast disruption to our lives. Our lives are not going to be what they have been, and our children's lives are going to be even more different still because of the continuation. So there's going to be this disruption. However, the other side of the question is, if we don't do anything, this global warming and the consequences are going to continue. And those, as I said, there are no good consequences of that. So we have our choice of having all these bad consequences or trying to do something about it and maintaining a kind of human life that we can understand and appreciate. Disruption is going to happen. Let's have the good kind.
Why are people denying that global warming is happening?
One of my favorite questions. There's different answers. First of all, there's just the human phenomenon of sticking your head in the sand, the ostrich phenomenon of not wanting to know all these things, not wanting the life to be disrupted, trying to pay no attention to it. And it happens not just as individual human beings. The states of North Carolina and Florida will not allow its employees to use the word global warming or climate change. Now, it's not like nobody there knows what's going on. I mean, the water is rising in Florida, the water is rising in North Carolina. The state governments are sticking their head in the sand by just trying to say, oh, let's just not paying attention to this. So that's one thing, just this general human reaction. However, there's two very special things that have to be mentioned. One of the big reasons for climate denial is that those companies, corporations, and the people employed by them, they will lose if they have to give up fossil fuels. They have to give up mining of coal, oil, natural gas. It's their self-interest to keep doing this. They keep trying not to have this known to the public. I mean, ExxonMobil now is known for years that this was going on. Not a word of it. So that's the first thing. People acting out of their self-interest. Secondly, there are those, the conservative ideology, which is anti-government. Keep government out of it. And they see quite rightly that if global warming is occurring and that it will require huge public investment in order to bring about a new form of energy and a new form of life, they don't want government at all. So they tend to deny it. It's very clear in some cases. And then when you get people who are acting both out of their self-interest and out of the conservative ideology, people like the Koch brothers, I mean, wow, they're willing to dump millions of dollars into denial, into attacking people. I saw even Bill McKibben's being attacked the other day. Okay, so you get all these things put together. Propensity to want to ignore bad things, self-interest, power of conservative ideology in this country, all those things amount to people denying it, and people get taken in. But it's happening.
Well, Meryl, what would you do about global warming if you were elected?
Look, my job would be to study the options, the information thrown up by our researchers, the policy possibilities given by our public policy experts, try to figure out what the best mechanism is for stopping the production of fossil fuels and substituting something else for it. That's what you have to do. But that's not all. One of the things we need to do is remind any elected official should be telling his or her constituents, look, this is where we are, which is not happening by public officials. This is what can be done about it. This is the best thing to do about it. We need to do it. In other words, this is not an insider's game. This is for public discussion because the consequences of global warming are so bad that we're all involved. And this needs to be discussed in this way. Besides that, when it comes down to details, one of the major kinds of public investment that needs to go on is there's going to be some people's lives are going to be disrupted in some ways more than others. Immediately, those people in the coal industry, the oil industry, their jobs are being decimated. I mean, even in Appalachia, it's occurring already. Coal mining is going down. We as a public owe those people some means of reclaiming their lives. We're going to have to invest in their lives, training, whatever it takes. And that's a matter of figuring out for elected officials to do. So that's one of the particular things that I would be very concerned to do. Over and above that, I would just try to make global warming one of the major features of my term in office.
Well, Meryl, thanks for coming today and for your good ideas and your research, and hopefully we'll be able to put this into action.
Thank you for the questions, Carol.
You're welcome.